Hi, and welcome everyone to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. Today we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in beautiful New Orleans. Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. Please hop in the chat. We would love to see you, hear from you, your questions and comments. And again, welcome to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. Today we're broadcasting live on United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, which is 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Don't forget, hop in the chat. We definitely want to hear from you. So today we're going to be covering a topic that has been like a thorn in our sides for quite some time now. And it covers what governments aren't telling you inside the fight for UFO transparency. So when you look up at the skies, what do you see? Do you see a vast empty canvas or a silent witness to the truth we've been told is nothing more than conspiracy? For decades, our governments have held a profound secret, a reality that could change everything we know about our past, our future, and ourselves. And tonight, we're not only discussing UFOs, UAPs, whatever you want to call them, but we're challenging the very foundation of our trust in authority. And I'm super excited to have back again our guest, Joe Montaldo. And he has spent his life demanding answers and holding institutions accountable. He's the co-founder of the international director and spokesperson for I.C.A.R, which is the International Community for Alien Research. He's also the owner of United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. So prepare yourself to have your perceptions shattered, because I think the story that we've been hearing is not the real story. And the truth is out there right here. Maybe it's in this room, waiting for us to uncover it. So, Joe, hello.
Hello. How y'all doing out there today, guys? Oh, man. I opened up our Pal Talk. We have a chat room on Pal Talk we've been having for a long time. It's like 25 years or something we've had.
Wow.
So, but we kind of when we switched to Skype and then switched over and ended up with StreamYard, we kind of closed it for a while. But by popular demand, I've been opening up and let them start asking questions again. Eventually,
nice.
I'll figure out how to reroute it. Well, once it's been open for a while, I'll just, all people have to do is join, and we'll just make them an admin, and then they can have it parked over to the side. See, I keep my Messenger and my Pal Talk on the right side of my screen because people are lazy. So it's however they're well. People go on YouTube sometimes, or they're going for some reason they've been using Mumble a lot lately, but. A lot of them, because they started with us way back in Yahoo, followed us to Pal Talk, and then when we all kind of moseyed over to Facebook, everybody started using Messenger. So now my Messenger is all three of my private pages. The Messenger's connected; they all go to one Messenger now, and it can be an interesting conversation because we always post the shows in advance, so my Messenger will just start lighting it up. And you can tell when you're on track because they'll be asking good questions. You get off track, dumb stuff starts floating up past you. It's just like
it's true.
Obviously, I'm not talking about what they want to hear. So how you been? You been good? Or?
Good. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Yes, I'm lucky I have a voice left. I got caught in I do political lectures from time to time, and with Charlie Kirk getting shot yesterday, I've given lectures at local colleges here and all over the country actually. But they call me up early. It's like 6:30. Would you mind if we fly you up to Ole Miss and you can do 2 hours with us talking about Charlie Kirk? And I said, well, I'm kind of already got something scheduled for the day. And they're like, oh, come on, man. But they pay you really good, so it's hard to say no.
Oh, geez.
And I'm not laughing at people. Don't think I'm laughing about Charlie Kirk. I mean, it's a tragic thing, but I'm like, guys, I'm barely, because I never go to bed before like 3 or 4 in the morning. So people calling me at 6. I'm like, you want me to do what? Who? Where? With who? College kids? You crazy? What? Didn't somebody just get shot yesterday? And I'm like, I tell you what, though, there was security out the yin yang.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I'm a nobody in there with security at the end of it. It's people I got a following, but not like Charlie Kirk. I mean, we're talking 40, 50, 60 million people he's got following him.
Yeah.
He's a worldwide thing. But so they caught me doing that, and then it's so funny because right at the end, the guy goes, "I know your voice." And I was like, "Really?" He said, "Yeah. Don't you host other shows?" I'm like, "Yes, I host radio shows and TV shows." I'm like, "Why?" He said, "I just know your voice." I said, "Well, I host 5 different shows on 5 different topics." I said, "So
Yeah.
I don't know which one you were listening to." I could tell when they asked me about writers of the future, and then I know right after that what they were listening to.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. We're in a
yeah,
sorry state, this country and the world, but
yes, we're trying to climb our way out of it, and I noticed other countries now, or I see Britain's changing their ways a little bit because, man, they had become pretty much anti-social media. I mean, they have people going to jail for 3 and 4 years for posts that we laugh about. 'Cause I guess Americans just have thicker skin. I don't know what it is. And then I noticed Germany started doing it too, and I'm like, well, y'all can't be doing it.
well, they don't want to offend their imported bunch of people that they've got
Yeah.
coming in there.
I
I
always
mean,
tell people,
I saw them arresting a guy in a wheelchair. He was a 91-year-old veteran, and he was holding up a
oh,
sign that they didn't like, and they picked him up. There was 4 or 5 officers there, and they actually picked him up out of the wheelchair and locked him up.
that doesn't even surprise me. I mean, there's been a lot of that going
Yeah,
on, but I tell people all the time, if you're easily offended, don't listen to me on Friday or Saturday because
right.
I'm going to offend you. So because
Yeah,
I remember a lady just recently, she goes, "You're always so nice when you're talking about UFOs and authors and stuff, and even science. You're so laid back, and I've never even." She said, "I've been listening to you for 28 years. I've never heard you curse." I said, "You do know I was a sailor, right?" She's like, "Well, yes, and I was a sailor for 9 years." I said, "I might have picked up 1 or 2 bad habits while I was out there."
yeah,
And I said, "I'm no angel by any means, and I do have a mouth on me." But I tell people I'm upfront about it. I'm a centrist. I'm an equal opportunity hater. I can hate on both sides. So look, bring it on. It's fun to me. UFOs are always more fun to talk about because the politicians are they're so lost in all of this. So I've given testimony twice now, and it's closed doors under polygraph, and it scares me how little they actually know. I mean, literally, it scares me. So there's an animal there. He's listening. I'm being polygraph. He's listening. He goes, so we break the first. This is the first day, 12 hours straight on the first day. We break after the first day. He said, "I want to tell you something." I can't use the language he used here, but he was like, "I really don't bleeping like your bleeping self, bleeping."
Mhm.
He said, he's got 3 stars on his collarbone, so he's been in for a while. And he said, "I've been doing this my whole entire life, and I've had to worry about Russians and Chinese and North Koreans and Iranians." He said, "But Joe, something we can't even defend from." He said, "I didn't even need to know that existed." I'm
Mm.
like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "You're like one of the third, fourth chiefs in the Pentagon. You're telling me you don't need to know it existed? That's just scary." Because
Yeah.
that tells me that there's very little information sharing going on. And as
Hmm.
far as Congress goes, Congress is illiterate, or just they're like Mississippi's reading community. They're completely illiterate when it comes to this. They're lost,
Yeah.
and they don't know who to believe or who to follow. And you got people like Stephen Greer up there throwing up stuff about
Yeah.
Delta dimensions and bringing on spies as witnesses and telling them they got all kind of EBBs and EBEs and ships are falling out the sky. And I'm thinking, first off, I'm hoping Congress is smarter than that. But you know what? Not all of them are. And some of them just fall right into it, hook, line, and sinker. But I did notice some of the questions that they asked this week were definitely because of stuff I had said in the things. And the bad part is if they would have just waited 4 or 5 months to bring me in, they could have done it publicly. But I couldn't do it publicly when I owned my construction business. It was
Mm.
too risky because a lot of my customers just would not have understood. They would have been like, "You
Yeah.
do what?" He said, "Why are you going in front of Congress? Because of what?" And a lot of them were hardcore Christians, which is funny because I have some really good Christian friends who are big time in the UFOs, and then I've got some that are so anti, it's scary. And I'm like, dude, did you? And they always get mad at me because when I was really young, I used to teach the Bible on Wednesdays, and I was like, did you not read the thing? I said, there's lots of. I said, go read the Old and the New Testament, and you may even want to go read some of the codexes. And I said, get a much better understanding of what God was saying and what He wasn't saying. And obviously, he didn't say we were it. There's no way in the Bible it says man was it. Matter of fact, we just kind of sound like some effed up experiment went wrong or something.
Well, they just came out with proof that there's biological entities found on Mars. They just made an announcement.
Yes,
Why isn't that all over the news?
It is kind of sort of because this is the real problem. So you'll hear it on some of the new science programs. You'll start hearing it because it's actually pretty good evidence. But the problem is ABC, NBC, CBS, even Fox. They don't actually understand what it is. They don't even understand the significance of finding life on another planet.
Right.
They just don't understand it. It's something that goes beyond their little. Unfortunately, reporters these days live in this little box like this, and they shadow each other, so they're bouncing off the box, basically repeating themselves. It's so funny these days because when I was growing up, it wasn't like that. But today, you can change from channel to channel to channel to channel to channel, and you'll hear the exact same thing.
It's all garbage.
It is. It's garbage in, garbage out.
It's all cognitive dissonance too. People, are so afraid to step outside their comfort zone and think about something that might be a reality.
I understand that. When I was younger, somebody said, "Well, you're so confident." I said, "I wasn't always like this." I said, "When I was young, I was kind of like, I lost my dad at 16. It was, and I came from a really wealthy family. So now, I told my mom, go live wherever you're going to go live, and I just stayed in the old house until they threw me out the damn thing, and I joined the military after that. But I was a wreck, so I can understand, not being able to get out there, but sooner or later you have to get involved. You can't just keep sitting back and watching, because if it does, we're going to end up like China or Russia or something worse. North Korea. I mean, we're in a point now. We're in a point where we're fixing to open up the universe, but while we're trying to do this, half the country's trying to turn it into communist, so we can't do it. It's kind of weird because it was bad enough having to fight with the Republic to get information. Now you've got a whole nother second there that wants to assemble the information and put it away now that it's coming out, like it actually didn't come out.
Yeah.
So and that's not going to work, because I've been preaching to people about the desensitization program for 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
We picked this up early on because I got in this totally by accident. Well, maybe it wasn't so much by accident. Maybe it was meant to be, but not from my side. It wasn't. I was in the Navy, and these pilots used to come in and tell me all the time about this weird shit they saw. And even then, I wasn't that interested. I was like, "Wow, UFOs, that's cool." Big deal. I was career minded, had other things on my mind. I was just getting out of special forces and all these. And I mean, it's nonstop. These pilots telling me, "Oh, we saw this and they did this and we did that." And so I was working on a sub one afternoon. They were parked in between the carrier and the subtender, and I'm inside working on these Navy guys are talking about these underwater UFOs cruising by them, doing loop-to-loops around the sub and shit, and freaking all their sensors out and making the sub just stop. But it didn't sink; it just stopped. They were kind of like, they didn't even know what to think about it. And even then, I'm like, wow, that's wow. But when I got out, just everyday people started telling me about contact. I'm like, I mean, I'm back home. I go see my regular dentist, who's been my dentist since I was like 10, or maybe even younger than that. She's telling me, she's doing my teeth, and she's telling me about this alien that comes and picks her up at night.
Wow.
I'm a customer, but she knows me since I was a little kid. And I'm thinking, oh, well, she's just telling me some story. And I was working late nights, as I was trying to add to my education. So I was trying to work nights. And people would just come in out of the blue and start telling me about alien contact. And when I started working the day shift, when I got promoted to GM, I said, well, I'll just work the day shift and have to figure like split it so I could go to school and do the day shift at the same time. And then it would just random people just walk up to me out of the blue. I'm in a club one night with some friends. We're drunk as can be. I mean, just, we'd been out because New Orleans is a different town. It's 24 hours a day, 7 day a week.
Sure.
So, we don't even usually go out till midnight. So you can imagine, and everywhere there's food so you can drink all night. The more food, more booze. So that's how they do it down here. And these three girls are telling us about something that happened the night before. And I'm looking at my friend going, they got to be on something way better than we're on, obviously. I mean, they're telling me all about this abduction stuff, but it wouldn't stop.
Yeah.
It just kept on. So I said, you know what? And then some really fairly important people, one in particularly important to me, but some other people who were just important to the area, for what they did for a living, started telling me about these contacts. I said, well, I'm just going to look into this. And this is like 39, 40 and a half years ago or something. But
Mm.
so I'm going to look into this and see. I'm going to debunk it is what I'm going to do, because it's BS is what I said. I said, actually, these people need to seek professional help. Even though I knew these people weren't insane, I couldn't cope with the
Yeah.
idea that little gray guys were coming here and snatching up people and or reptilians or human aliens and doing stuff. I was like, no, come on. Y'all are watching entirely too much sci-fi. But then some of these people were very serious kind of people. They wouldn't want, you couldn't even pay them to watch sci-fi. If it didn't like financially related or government related, they didn't want to hear about it. So, I mean, and I don't know why they were telling me. So I kept hearing more and more and more of that. And then one afternoon, we had a chat room on, well, we didn't at the time, but some other people had some chat rooms on Yahoo. But this is ages ago. And I'm sitting in there. I was actually on there reading tarot cards for somebody. And then I was listening to this guy, Ariel St. Sinclair, talking about his contact and all this other stuff and how he had the blood of Jesus. And anyway,
Mhm.
after listening to this guy and arguing with this guy, actually, I got in several fights with him. I met some people in another room, and we formed the UFO Alien Phenomena Group, which was the start of the International Community for Alien Research. And we started getting into serious conversations. And before we knew it, the room was maxed out. But on Yahoo, you didn't have any controls, and any crazies could come in and do any kind of crazy stuff they wanted to and take over the mics. I remember somebody told us about something called Pal Talk, and that room was over there, open nonstop for 18 years, never closed, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it was basically a support group for contactees. But when we got into radio, it morphed. So it was both. Then it was part of the radio shows because people like to ask questions out of it, and
Yeah.
it was just more. And we just kept finding contactees. I mean, that's why I.C.A.R got started, because we didn't know what to do with them. We just
Yeah.
kept at one point, and this is before I barely even knew November and D, and who's passed now, and a couple others that were actually founders of I.C.A.R with me. We said we need somewhere to put this. We need investigation teams. So we started actively looking for investigators.
Yeah.
And before we knew it, we had investigators in at least two in every state. And I think we still have over 70 countries with investigators in them. India, we have 6 in. Actually, we have 3 directors and 6 investigators in India. And we got them in China. We got them in Russia. Got them all over Europe. Europe's different though. You can centralize in Europe because the countries are all kind of, it's
Yeah.
like
Close
riding around in
together.
the States. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, if you're in Canada, the States, you got all the provinces and counties connected, so you can ride around. So it's kind of has that same feel, but then the data started pouring in, and it started pouring in, and it started pouring in, and before long, we had 25,000 cases. We didn't know what to do with them. When I was with MUFON, we had done 5,000 cases, and it's one of the reasons I left, because they got really mad at me. And we had started a form an abduction criteria, we called it. But yeah, I was a chief investigator over there when and Walt Andis was there. Actually, Walt and I were good friends. And him and my wife were good friends. But MUFON did not like what I was doing. They did not like the abduction word or the contact word. They were a serious nuts and bolts UFO organization. That's all they were doing, was tracking UFOs, which made no sense because UFO just means unidentified flying object. Doesn't mean it's alien, just means it's unidentified.
Right.
So I never did quite understand it. And then it got even worse. You couldn't even turn anything into them. They became like the black hole of Calcutta. You'd go back and look for data from like 6 months earlier, and it was nowhere to be found. Thank God I made backups of every damn thing, but it just got to the point where it was ridiculous, and we were outgrowing them at a much faster pace.
Mm.
So we just said, okay, we set a bunch of ground rules down, set up a bunch of places you can go on the websites and take different questionnaires and read stuff and read about other cases and fill out the questionnaires and get somebody to come. If they think you're legit, somebody will talk to you. But I mean, currently we have 134,000 cases that we consider legit. That's not how many cases we've been through. That's how many got. A friend of mine the other day tells me, "Just there's no way you could have done that. Not even in 20 years." I'm like, I didn't do that. I said we have 64,000 members. I said that's not even 2 cases per person. And he's like, "Oh, I didn't think of it like that." I said, "Yeah." I said, everybody who's in the field, whether they're a field director, research specialist, or director or assistant director, they know how to investigate. It's part of the organization. So, and they're all under non-disclosure agreements, which MUFON. See, it's different we're way different. One, everybody who's a member of the organization has to sign a non-disclosure agreement. And it's mainly because MUFON taught us a lesson about directors taking people's stories and writing books about them and getting famous or somebody else, So this way, what we do is either the international director or the national director and the person who it's about has to sign off. They both sign off, and then they can use it for whatever they want. But they both got to sign off on it. It keeps us, and we're not a 501(c). See, we started out as one, but we dropped it quickly because we found out that 501(c)s have to answer to the government. So the government can come in to see your records anytime. They can see your entire donation list, whoever's been involved with you. Boom. There's nothing you can do about it. See, with us, no, you will have to drag us into court, kicking and screaming, and television all over the place. Because we're not going to go peacefully. We're not going to give up that information easily.
Will you run on donations? Like what?
Donations, and we have a couple of people who sponsor the organization for whatever reasons they want to do it for. A couple of them are just science geeks and are really interested in the topic, and a couple of them are wealthy contactees that help pay for things, put stuff up, and then we do get donations as well. It's and it all makes a difference because the more that comes in, the more that they can do. I'm not as active as I used to be. There's people coming in. Well, we rotate out directors too. Directors get burnt out and things like that, and so because all the stuff they hear. But when you start gathering the kind of information we got, and you sit down like we did with the government, or just listening to them the other day, you realize that the private research organizations are who's got the damn information. It's so I was listening. I think it was what's her name? Miss Mace asked one question, and the guy goes, "Well, we couldn't do this out here. We'd have to do it in the back in the skiff." And he said, "I'm not even sure if you're qualified to hear the information, even if we were in private in the skiff." And this is not this guy I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. He's not in the military, and he's not a politician. He's just a private sector. He's just somewhere. He's not even at the top of the food chain.
Was that George Knapp?
No, George Knapp is just he's a host like we are, actually.
Yeah, he's not in the military. I was surprised to see him up there. And for folks that don't know, we were talking about September 9th recently, the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee Task Force, they held a declassification of federal secrets. It was a hearing for UAPs, and that's what we're, hopefully going to be digging into.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I was surprised George Knapp was there.
Yeah, he was a little out of his league there, but because he's not this is when trouble starts. It's like Stephen Greer. He's not an actual researcher, and Knapp isn't either. They're great. They're great at what they do. Stephen, and then it's like my good friend Stephen Vest said. He's more of an activist organizer, is what he is. He's not a UFO alien researcher, and he's smart enough that he doesn't get into those topics. He leaves that to the people who are actually doing the research, which I give him credit for, because I give him stuff all the time. I tell him all the time, because he's always saying, You get lights in the sky, you're going to find a truth with lights in the sky. So you're never going to find truth with lights in the sky. You're only going to find it from the contactees because they got direct contact. That's
Do they
the only,
send you videos to people? Do you get a lot of video content, or is it just mostly abduction cases?
no, we get different things that come in. Matter of fact, somebody had sent me the clip of, I think it's on my Facebook page, the clip of the rocket that ricocheted off of the UFO.
Can
The
I
one
share that?
yeah, you got it. Pop it up.
Yeah, let's watch that because I wanted to get your and for folks that are that are listening, this is a UAP UFO, and that U.S. Hellfire missile was shot at it, and it kind of did nothing to it. It just set it like off course, I think.
Yeah, no, the guys last night on UFO Undercover, they were talking about. Wait, let's watch it. Boom. Now they said that you could see pieces of plasma that came off. See the little pieces following behind it.
Yeah, yeah. I thought they
Now,
said they were drones or something.
well,
Um,
they one of them said it was a missile, or the guy at the Pentagon. I mean, the guy at the thing said it was a missile that hit him. And then people couldn't make up their mind if those pieces were from the missile, but the missile looked like it just bounced off and kept going. And some people said it must have had some type of shield, maybe some type of plasma shield. And those pieces you saw were pieces of the plasma shield that had been
it
pulled
could
off
be, yeah.
because they
It's
were
hard to
actually
tell.
following. Well, they're actually following in the direction of the
Mhm.
UFO. See, there's
I mean,
the
look at
UFO.
that. It
And
just like throws it off course a little bit. And during the hearing, they said that there's no technology that we know of that could possibly, withstand a Hellfire missile like that.
not unless it was
That's
a dud. I mean, that's the only other
It was a
explanation.
dud, yeah.
If it was a dud, it would have bounced. It wouldn't have blew up. But I mean, I've never really heard of Hellfires being duds before. That's an all new thing.
Yeah, I never heard of it.
And see how the missile curved. I mean, it's almost like it.
Yeah, it did curve
but
there. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can see these little pieces, these 5 little pieces back here.
Yeah, what are they?
That's the thing. Was it? Some people say it's part of the missile, but the missile don't look damaged. Watch, there's a missile.
No, it doesn't. And they're just appearing, though, Joe. You see that?
Yeah, that's what they're thinking. So they're thinking it didn't actually. Yeah. So what they're saying is it didn't hit the craft. The craft has a field around it. It hit the field, and that's just chunks of the field following behind the craft. Because you could see it picked up.
I don't know.
So it's hard to say exactly what it was, but the arguments are right now is either a piece of the missile, but it's going the wrong way really for the missile, and
I don't know. It doesn't. I mean, just to the untrained eye, it seems it definitely is not coming from the missile. No. It looks like the UAP is releasing, releasing them.
It probably, when it hit it, there was probably some type of charged particle field there, plasma, maybe, yeah. and that's probably pieces of plasma. Maybe people, that's sheer speculation, but it's. Oh, I got us on full screen. Let me get my scary self off of full screen here, Lan. So
it is fascinating.
It's interesting to see those pieces, and then there's another one they showed where this thing was like it was disky, kind of shapy, kind of. I don't know if so. For some of you people older, in the old days, they used to have these hand buzzers you could put in your hand. It went around your finger. It was a little round thing and it had a little button in the middle. When you shook hands with people, it would shock them or it'd buzz them.
Yeah, I remember that.
Well, this thing that crashed kind of had that same shape. So some people, the first guy said, "Oh no, it's a 1955 Chevy's hubcap." It looked a little better than that. Yeah. A lot of people kept saying it was a rotor off of a car or a truck, and it did kind of look like that. But anyway, this thing is like flip-flopping and wobbling. It's going around and flopping over and stuff. It's just whatever it is, it's completely out of control. And then it just hits the ground. Now, what's impressive is that for the most part, it stayed intact, but the right side facing you looked like it split and kind of cracked open a little bit. Mm-hmm. Now, they're saying it's some type of UFO. Well, of course, it's a UFO. People, it's an unidentified flying object. That does not mean it's alien. It could have been one of ours. So I would think most alien technologies are going to be dense enough that they're probably not going to break up on impact.
Mm-hmm.
anything that can put up with the types of radiation we're talking about crossing through space and micrometeors at speeds that we can't even imagine, um, are probably not going to be real fragile. Not going to be like our stuff made out of rivets where they break apart and shit. They're going to probably be cast in one piece out of a material that absorbs radiation and can be impacted by micrometeors traveling at 3 or 4 or 5 times the speed of light. Yes,
Yeah.
that would tear through just about anything. So if you can resist that, odds are your craft is not going to break up an impact. And I'm sure they have shielding around the craft as well. But even us as a serious spacefaring race, we've been thinking more and more about molded one piece things because
Mm-hmm.
when they crash, they'll still be intact. You might have to pull the guts out of it and replace the guts, but the ship itself will still be intact.
Yeah.
So we've been thinking more and more about that. But they're talking about composite materials doing that. Well, they just landed that rover on what is it, Dragon Blue something or another. They landed on the moon yesterday or today. It's up there rolling around on the moon. Yes, that's the second rover we've landed up there. The country's serious about going back to the moon. They want that
Yeah.
helium-3. That's why.
Yeah.
Yes, they
Exactly.
want that, and they want to know why
Me
them
too.
aliens.
China.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because China's on the dark side, but China's having financial
Right.
problems right now, so they really want to get it, but they may not have the oomph power. It's really expensive to go to space, people. And then if you want to start hauling back helium-3, um, I don't even know if the countries or the planet's going to put up with you manufacturing or processing it on the planet. They're going to probably want it processed on the moon. So if there's any byproducts, they don't want them being left on our planet, I guess. So
Right.
that's all. But we're going to be there before Trump's out of office. They said we'll probably have a presence from that point on, is what they said. So they're planning on going for good now.
I don't know. I'm really like skeptic. The government clearly does not want to give us disclosure. You have organizations like Arrow that these whistleblowers are sending information, videos, everything to them, and then they just discount them all. Is that a lightsaber?
Yes,
That is so cool.
that's
I didn't
that's
know what it was at
that's
first.
that's for Bob back there. See, Bob back there is to keep his ass in line.
That
Yeah,
is so cool.
it's yes, it's usually over here. I'm usually using it as a like a
Yeah.
hand holder. It's wait, I didn't mean to interrupt you. What were you saying?
Oh, I love that lightsaber. Yeah. So like they just keep discounting all of the evidence that is sent to them. They research it, and they're supposed to
So
be part of the transparency aspect of
so
releasing this, and then everything is fake. There's a bull crap reason for everything that's shown to them. So what do you think about Arrow just in general?
well, I haven't really looked at them enough to see how legit they are. I'll tell you this though, from the people I met when I was doing testimony, most of these House reps, these and these senators, and even these military people, which the majority of them were colonels, but there were a couple of generals and admirals showed up, and they want to know the truth. The problem is they don't know who to get the truth from. So they're listening. They brought in someone like me, and then they brought in other people, and then they brought in these other witnesses. I noticed there wasn't no pilots at this one this time, but even though there was footage from gun cams and stuff, there wasn't no pilots. And on that one we were watching, there's another one where you can watch and you can see water vapor on. I don't know whatever camera was watching it. There was actually water vapor. When this thing actually hit it, the water vapor changed positions on the camera, which means there was some kind of recoil far enough
Mm,
away that wherever this camera was, it pushed it. It
mm,
pushed the vapor on the camera. I caught that and I was like, because at first I said, well, are we watching it from the missile? Because we do have cameras on the end of the missiles, which is what the Pentagon got to watch. So they know what happened when it hit it. Unless the camera went out before it got there,
yeah.
um, they seen it when it impacted. So they knew that there was some type of field there. But my question is, why in the bleep would you take a pot shot at an extraterrestrial spacecraft?
Yeah, kind of dumb.
And then after seeing what happened to your missile, you'd really have to stop and think, wow, are we lucky they just didn't turn around and blast us into another planet? Because there was two different ships there that could have shot at this thing, but I guess they figured one was after the first time it was enough, or maybe it was a warning shot to the ET. I have no idea, but I do not think it's a good idea to shoot at ETs.
Yeah, I agree.
Something makes me think they may have a little better weapons than we do.
Was that shot from a ship, like from a battleship, or was that from a jet? Like
I don't
from
know.
some,
So the original one I heard, it came off of another aircraft that was in the area, coming from a different angle. So there was an aircraft coming this way, and there was an aircraft coming this way. I'm assuming, which it's always bad to assume, that's what it came off of, but no one actually clarified.
yeah, they didn't.
Uh,
Not during the hearing.
no, they didn't actually clarify it. They just kind of let it float out there. You got and then as many times as they've turned our nuclear weapons off and the Russians on,
Right.
you would think that we would kind of get an idea. Stop screwing with these guys.
Yeah.
They're above us, and my problem is the government, the Congress. Let me get this straight, because the government's much more than just Congress, but Congress wants to know the truth. At least half of Congress does. All the people that we've talked to over there really want the truth, and they are just sucking up information and verifying. That's why it was so funny to them when I said, well, wait, if we're going to do this, why don't you call someone from Quantico and get a polygrapher out here? And that way there's no guessing on what's being said, because I noticed none of the ones in Congress have been willing to take a polygraph. None of the ones that have testified openly, because that's what I call Koresh out on. I'm like, well, wait, dude, if you're not willing to take a polygraph. And then I went back and listened to his statements a couple of times, and I realized he was third-hand information. So he's a spy who knew another spy, basically, who knew the people who were working on it, and then he got one of the people that were working on it to tell him. So it was third-hand information.
A lot of it is, yeah.
So how clean is third-hand information? Not very. So it's, and everything is so compartmentalized. Even in the old days when we first got in this, we would bump into people, and they'd have a little piece of the puzzle. Now I'm real lucky because I have a class 10 security clearance, which means things that are classified, some people are not to me. But the problem is I was asked this at a lecture just recently. Do I know things that I don't talk about? Of course I do, but I'm bound by law not to. It has nothing to do with me personally. I'd spill everything I knew if I could, which would freak out some people to start off with. But it's unfortunate that, I am under non-disclosure agreement, and I'm actually under 3 different ones. I'm under my one for my class 10 security clearance, which is for life. You can go check for yourself. If you get somebody in the FBI and just ask them, they do a background check on me every 4 years. And sometimes if I'm talking about certain things, it might be every year or so.
Do they get pissed off at you for just talking about this stuff in general?
Like,
if you ever got warnings?
Not at ET. So, yeah, but okay, there's a couple of things here. When I first started doing radio a long, long time ago on Wake Up USA, they used to log, because it was all a phone system back then. They would log in the phone system, and they would stay in the phone system the entire show and just pop out questions while we were live. They hacked into the system. They basically, tapped the phone is what they did. It was, it was out of Riverside, Iowa, 1690 Riverside, Iowa is what it was. And because he always used to say the future birthplace of Captain Kirk, because that's where he comes from. So anyway, they would just break in and start asking questions. And on a couple of times when I did get threatened, so there's a time I had a crew working on a roof on one of the complexes for one of my owners, and we were putting on a new roof on a 20-plex. And I wasn't up to work. I was actually dressed decent, so I wasn't actually planning on working. So we're sitting there, and I'm watching the guys do their thing, and I'm on the phone, and I look down and I see this gray SUV with these dark tinted windows pull up, and I'm like, there's just something about it just looked funky. Then these 2 guys stepped out in gray Armani suits, just boom. I'm like, what the hell is this with these big dark sunglasses on? I'm like, well, I looked over the guy, said, $10 says they're feds. And he's like, why? I said, didn't I look? I said, y'all did anything? So then the guys walk halfway around the truck, and he starts doing this. Well, there's 22 guys on the roof with me. So I'm looking around and, pointing at people, thinking, okay, one of you guys got in trouble. So we did this for about 5 minutes, and the guy kept shaking his head, and I went like this, and he went, and I was like, uh-oh. So I'm going down the ladder. My boys rush over. You want us to come down with you? We'll walk over there with you. You know, safety. And I'm like, dude, calm down. It's nothing like that. I'm not kidding you. You're some big boys too. I was like, no, y'all stay up here on the roof and finish what you're doing. I'd rather have the money. But anyway, as I'm walking across the street, the guy unbuttons one button on his vest, his jacket, opens it up, and puts it over so I could see his gun sitting there. Okay, I'm like, wow, you got a gun, big deal. I was like, dude, we in the South, everybody got a gun. As a matter of fact, I was carrying one myself. So, and I walked up, and he goes off to tell me where my son is, what he's wearing, where he's actually doing in school at the moment we're talking. Oh, I said, you know, your wife's, yeah, he goes, your wife's at the doctor's. Oh, her checkup was good, though. Everything was good. And he said, you know, she looks really good in that purple top. And I was like, so, okay. So I was kind of like, all right, you made your point. What about it? He said, you know, you had Alfred Weber on your show the other night. And we, you know, Joe, we're behind you. We want you to get this out to people, but you're not allowed to talk about the agenda. I'm like, well, and first off, it's not one agenda. It's like agendas. There's a buttload of stuff going on. And he said, no. He said, you know what I'm talking about, and I don't want you talking about it. He said, you didn't get the hint? Because while we were on air, we went off. We got dropped. Not just us. Every listener we had was dropped from every location wherever they were. And that show at that time.
What were you talking about? Like, what,
alien
could I ask?
Yeah, we're just talking about the alien agenda, things that ET may or may not be doing, and why they do certain things. I mean, it wasn't something I hadn't talked about. Well, maybe not a lot, but back then the alien agenda wasn't. You know, I think it was as we were describing at the moment when all the stuff hit the shit. I was describing a typical alien abduction 101 is what I was describing, not contact, because abductions are different than contact. So it's just typical alien abduction 101. And I guess it hit a chord with somebody, and boom, 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 everything went off. And then we came back, and my producer's like, what the hell? And Alfred, who was in BC at the time, he still is in BC, and we're talking. He said, what the hell? And the callers started calling in, and everyone was dropped. So I said, okay, so well, let's start where we were. And I said, let's talk about why they take people the way they take them, and why some people migrate into contactees and even into keepers and stuff. And we start talking, and Alfred said something about how they're doing it. And I went to say it, and boom, we all went down. Everybody. And at that time, that show went out to at least 90 countries before it got bigger, but it went out to at least 90 countries. So they were just dropping I don't even know how they were doing it. It was like bulleting everybody. And so we'd come back on, and we were talking. So anyway, they show up at the job site, and he said, you know, he said, it's not like that. He said, you know, a lot of people, we get all conspiracy, something happened to you. He said, because you're getting pretty famous these days. He said, but Joe, you drive everywhere, man. He said, 18-wheeler could roll over you. No one would even think twice about it.
He said that to you?
Oh, yes, he said that to me. But what made it worse was, he said, but more than likely what would happen is your son's bus would meet with an accident or something. Just to
Come on.
Oh, no. He was serious. And he was serious. He actually, and they realized that threatening me wasn't going to work, because come on, I was ex-special forces. You're not going to threaten me. That's not going to float with me. Threatening my family where I can't have any control, do anything about it, that's a whole different thing. Because there was no control for me. There was no way to stop it. If they decided they wanted to do it, there was no way for me to stop it, because I wouldn't have known about it until it was too late.
Exactly. Did you ever have any MIBs like following you around, or?
We still get followed. So it's funny, but we're a lot slicker than we used to be. But it's funny because in the old days, we'd be talking with different members of the organization. Oh, we're going to move here. We're going to be there, or such and such, you know, has been having a problem. A friend of ours in Pensacola, well, she was a case in the beginning. She's a friend now. She kept getting pictures of little grays in her backyard behind her wooden shed, a 3.5 foot tall white picket fence. And she was always getting them peeking in and out. I said, you're scamming us, girl. And I liked her. She's a nice person, but I said, you're scamming us. This is bullshit. And she goes, no, you come out here, you'll all see them. And sure enough, we all went out there. We all saw them. So it wasn't even, you couldn't even argue with her at that point. You're just kind of like, what the is going on here? So we started talking about it.
Mm.
Sure enough, we're at the casino of all places. We're cruising middle of dark, middle of night, because some of the casinos out here are way out in places. So we're cruising, and it's the middle of nowhere. So we go to make a turn on the street, and I'm talking. The nearest house is probably 15 miles from where there's a guy laying in the gravel in the corner in a nice outfit. And when I slowed down, he jumped up all of a sudden. I was like, whoa, 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 no, something about this didn't feel right. Because part of me wanted to stop. I mean, literally, we were in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Um, but the way he did it, I was like, nope, nope. And I reached down and grabbed Martha. Actually, I moved Martha over so I could have better access to her. And I said, no, no, no. My wife's like, you're not going to stop, right? I said, no, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going. So out of nowhere, here comes this SUV following us, following us. I mean, like I said, we're in the middle of nowhere. I said, well, I'm going to F with these guys. And I reached over and whispered in my wife's ear to hang on. And right, there's a place where you turn. So I'm cruising about 114, 115 miles an hour at this point. And so I tapped on the lights and cut the wheel and made the car kind of swerve like it was going to sway in. And as it did, I just cut it all the way back and got going back straight and punched it up to about 135. Well, the guy in the SUV almost flipped it because he was committed to the turn. There was no way he could get out of the turn. Well, obviously they knew where we were going because we got to the casino, we parked the car, looked down, and who's sitting right below us looking up at us? The guys in the SUV. So I was like, ain't this sweet? So we get in the elevator going down to go into the casino, and they step on board because we still had another floor and stop the elevator. Just stop it. Hit the little button, stopped it. I don't know how they didn't set the alarm off because they usually alarm goes off usually when you pull the stop button. And he said, "You just don't listen, do you?" He said, he starts talking about where little Joe's at, and I'm like, "Yeah, I know where he's at." And the guy's like, you need to pay more attention to what you're doing." I'm like, "What?" I said, "My job is to find out what the ET is doing here. Why are they screwing with so many people on the planet, and why the government has so little interest in it?" I said, "It's what I'm doing." He said, "That's all fine, Joe. We want you to do that, and we like you talking about it." He said, "But you need to pick and choose what you're saying more carefully."
Mm.
I was like, I said, "Well, why don't you just send me a list of what you think I should say and I shouldn't say?"
Yeah.
He started laughing. He said, "Yeah, they said you were going to say that." I was like, "Look," I said, "y'all forced me into this." I said, "Because it couldn't have been by accident why all these people came and found me in the beginning. There's got to be a reason for that." And I said, "And obviously y'all pay a big amount of attention to what's going on in my life." I mean, we've had weird events where so we had a unique way of finding UFOs. We seen, and I don't even think it was a UFO, the one we seen crash at night. I think it was a TR-3B, but a saucer came by to pick it up. That's what was so weird. I was out in the woods right after Katrina and on the NASA facility with a guy from Texas and a guy from Canada. And we heard this jet coming by, and we looked up, and there's a F-16 cruising along, and we're actually on the NASA base. And they allow you to hunt and fish on part of the base. It's a big, huge place. So we see
Yeah.
this F-16 cruising along. Then we see a TR-3B, and then we see a silver saucer right behind it. They're all just in line, cruising along, headed to the base. And anytime you'd see a landing early in the morning like that, the ground would growl or rumble, and it's obviously they must have had some big underground doors or something somewhere,
Sure.
or some type of vent system or something. I don't know what it was. But it's still, you go back there today and feel it. And sometimes, I mean, you're 14 miles back in the swamp where we were, nothing else. 14 miles into the deep swamp, and it's a great place to bring stuff because most hunters who see stuff are not going to say it if they see it. They're going to be like, I didn't see that. Did you see that? No, I didn't see that. And they don't count on people like me going back there who's going to make trouble. But we turn into a UFO spot. People go back there all the time. But a lot of people, they see a lot of weird stuff back there. And they've had a lot of weird contact back there. It's now it's become not just a place to go see, but a place to go get abducted, I guess. It's ET takes advantage of places like that, like Gulf Breeze. For a long time, it was abduction central. People would go there and lose days and weeks, and go home and realize they hadn't spent any money. All their credit cards were full. None of the cash they had was spent. There was no mileage on their car other than the going and the coming. Um, and then when they call back and ask the hotel people, said, "Well, we seen you check in." And then we never seen you check out. Linda and I lost 11 days in Gulf Breeze, Florida. Well, actually, in Opal Beach, Florida, which is between Gulf Breeze and Navarre Beach, right next to Eglin Air Force Base, of all places. And it was so surreal because we were outside on the very first night we were there and had this big long pier that walked out in the water. And she was out in the water with my kid, which is weird anyway because she hates water to start off with. And it's pitch black outside. And so she's out there. My kid is out there scooping crabs and putting them in a bucket. And we seen these two guys walking on this pier. When I get to the end of the pier, you see what looked like somebody took one of those glow sticks and cracked it open, threw it out in the water because it was like bombing green. Mm. And when it got really close to the pier, these two dudes just turn around screaming like little girls and running as fast as they can. We're both sitting there going, what the hell? Right? So at that point, I didn't remember anything else. And once I had some time, we went through some regression stuff and some hypnosis. I remember quite a bit, but so we were like, what the hell? And then the next thing I remember is I'm standing on the beach. My son's about 50 yards down the beach from me, and Linda's about 50 yards down the beach from him. There ain't no way in hell we're letting a 3-year-old get that far from us. It's just not something that's going to happen.
When was this show? How long ago?
Oh, let's see. This was in the 90s. Maybe I have to. It was Unsolved Mysteries was down there as well. So that was another weird thing. The very first night we got to Gulf Breeze, we checked into the Blue Horizon, and I mean not the Blue Horizon, the Sandcastle, and Unsolved Mysteries was there. And to be honest with you, this whole trip was a 15-day trip, is what it was going to be. This had nothing to do with aliens. This was simply a vacation because Linda had taken over a couple of big apartment complexes they gave on one block, and I was running a really nice size contract and a maintenance company. So we just wanted a vacation. And that's what we were down there going to do. And the very first night, there's Unsolved Mysteries, and they told me what they were doing. He said, "Oh, we're all going out to the fishing pier tonight to go look at the UFOs." I'm like, "Really?" So we packed up, went out there, and of course, this green light comes cruising along under the water, goes under the fishing pier we're on, goes under the main bridge, goes under the train trestle, stops, floats up out of the water, and these big globbing gold melted ball things look like just running off the side of the craft. Typical saucer. Everybody's out there. Everybody's taking pictures. Unsolved Mysteries got the cameras rolling. And as far as I know, no one got a clean picture. Not one. Unsolved Mysteries did a story on it. They even interviewed us for it. It was like, it was crazy.
So you saw the craft.
Yeah. So yeah, we all saw the craft. There was over 700 people there, including the mayor, the police chief, and several other big people from other counties.
How does this go under the radar, so to say?
It was on Unsolved Mysteries. They actually put it on there.
How come it wasn't on the news? Like, that's a huge event.
It was on the news. It just wasn't on any news that count. It was on the local news, the Gulf Breeze news, and Gulf Breeze is where Ed Walters is from, the Ed Walters case. So
this is mind-blowing to me that there's so much evidence, so much video, and legacy media just does not pay attention, except for like Tucker when he had his show, Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, he would get into it.
He tried. Yeah. But the problem is makes me crazy.
Well, because the problem is a lot of the people in the field shouldn't be in the field. They're out of there. They don't have any degrees in science, any backgrounds in science. They're just, it's all right for a contactee, but a contactee is tainted because they've had this happen to them. So they're always looking at things.
Yeah, they're like compromising it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that you can't have that. You have to have people who are going to look at it objectively. It's just how it is. And there's just not that many. And it was so funny. I was on Coast to Coast And George Norrie had said something. It was my very first appearance, matter of fact. And he had said something to me. And they brought me on just to talk about UFO cases. And he had said something to me. And I was like, well, oh, that's what it was. I told him what my background was. He said, shit, you're the only one I've ever met that actually has a pedigree to look at this. Because advanced avionics, advanced electronics, that's advanced aircraft recognition. All I got while I was in the Navy. And then I got my bachelor's when I got out. I was so really, truly, there's no one in the field that has those kind of degrees to look at UFOs. As far as I know, there's no one. Most of them are like English teachers or English lit or something like that, or nothing to do with science. And so it always aggravates me when people tell me, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about." I say, I might know a little more than you do. And then we've got such a large caseload. MUFON wishes they had a caseload like we did.
Yeah.
And then almost all the abduction stuff used today comes from us. And almost all of it does. Matter of fact, if you go back to, I guess it was 99. It was like 2001, I think. Anyway, if you go back and listen to all the Wake Up UFO shows I did with Richard Dolan and Peter Robbins and Peola Harris and all the big names and Linda Moulton Howe, all of them, you'll find out that they were anti-alien abduction. I mean, seriously anti. Peola got so mad at me one time. She didn't talk to me for 2 years. When I happened to be at the 60th anniversary at Roswell, I was speaking. And I ran into her in the restaurant. I walked up and hugged her. I said, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you, whatever I said. And she said, well, everybody was a little touchy about that alien abduction stuff. And that's what I was in Roswell to speak about. I was over there, and Jerry Pittman was over there, and Kevin Smith and a few other radio talents were there. And then Fox News was there. It was Sweep Weeks. So they had a lot of press there. It was really a nice week to be there. But, I mean, she was literally mad at me for 2 years because I brought up alien abduction. So, and now she hosts the whatchamacallit conference, the STAR conference. Yeah, she's the alien abduction queen, which she knows nothing about alien abductions. Not even a little bit.
Yeah.
But she's making money off of it.
Can I bring this up?
Yeah, bring it in.
I'm so curious to ask you what you think about this 3-eye atlas.
Oh, Atlas.
Yeah.
Yes, I was on it last night, by the way. So
you were what?
I said I was riding on it last night, surfing. I get a lot of questions about Atlas. It's kind of a well, first it was Oumuamua,
Right.
That took me 3 years to learn how to say its name.
I know. Me too.
And then still Jay was correcting me because I like to go off and call it Moo and stuff. And it's
Moo, yeah.
It's a
Muamua.
Yeah, it's a Muamua is what it is. But it was fun, I'm like, who comes up with these names? Don't we need to talk to these people before they name something? And then, what is it?
Well, this is better. This is better. Everybody's just calling it Atlas.
Yeah.
When you've got Avi Loeb, who's a reputable scientist, sparking all this three Atlas stuff. So it's supposed to meet us in December, approach the Earth, whatever. And I saw a video of how like all the planets are supposed to be aligned, and 3-eye atlas is like perfectly aligned with the planets. I don't know. What do you think?
It's not supposed to come here. It's supposed to. It's moved over some, but it's still going to Mars. So
yeah, it's aligned with the planets, right?
It's on the not the elliptical orbit, but anyway. So it's the same way. If we were shooting something out into space, it's lined up the same way we would do it. So each planet would give its speed.
Right.
And
I saw that video.
So it's not impossible for that to happen now, ladies and gentlemen. It could naturally happen. It's odd, and it's not all that likely. I think it's 1 in 25,000 or something, but it can happen. We've just never seen it happen before. Anytime we've seen it happen, we caused it. So it does look like this thing may have at least some intelligence to it. But remember, there's been 2 signals. There was supposed to be a signal for Muamua that came back and was being aimed backwards. So at first, when NASA got it, NASA thought it was for us because it contained some information about the gold record that's on Voyager. But in retrospect, they realized it wasn't being aimed at us. We just got so much satellite present there, we picked it up. but it was being aimed backwards. Like wherever this thing came from, it was being aimed back that way. Like the gold record was to identify what planet it was. And so they've been trying to analyze, and then all of a sudden, they said, "What signal?" Everybody's like, "What do you mean? You've been talking about it for 3 weeks. What do you mean, what signal?"
Yeah.
No, they ain't been no signal. Plus, they had originally said Oumuamua was coming back, that it had made a turn and it was coming back.
Oh, I didn't hear that. I thought it
Oh
just.
yeah, oh yeah. It's well, see, that's what I was told in the beginning. It's just shooting by.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
then we were doing a show one night, and one of the physicists says, no, it's turning around. I'm like, we need to turn. I can't turn around. If it's turning around, it's a freaking alien for sure. And but then
Yeah, because comets and asteroids don't have navigational
no.
systems. So
And that thing bad enough, it moved around enough to make you wonder anyway. I mean, it
Yeah.
did things that it wasn't supposed to.
Right.
So anyway, finally NASA comes out and says, no, it was a glitch in the direction. It's not coming back.
Oh,
So
okay.
see, but it was their people who said it was. That's why it caused so much ruckus.
Yeah.
So then, but still no more signal. Nobody knows what happened to the signal. Now we knew a couple of companies that were working on it. So people don't realize it, but places like Lockheed Martin, Savannah, Nevada, Boeing, a lot of these other big companies, they get sent bits and pieces of this stuff because they're the preferred contractors and they're the ones that work on these type of technologies. So they get, so like the signal was supposed to be sent to the three top AI companies in the world to let them try to figure it out. Well, what are the companies, I guess, before they were didn't realize they weren't supposed to say anything. Well, they had came out and said something, and then Google scrubbed the internet.
Jeez.
Because I guess they weren't supposed to say anything. So, okay, we can live with that. So then there's another signal, which they don't know if it came from Atlas or if it was being sent back to Oumuamua. It was just passing it anyway. They're not exactly sure where it came from. And we picked it up. So obviously something somewhere is communicating with something around here.
Yeah.
But we don't know because we don't know how long that signal's been traveling. Did they communicate that fast that Oumuamua within a month or two got a response? Well, then that would suggest that their signals travel faster than light, and wherever it is fairly close, probably within 100 light years or so. But they said Oumuamua came from probably as far away as 1 billion light years.
Yeah.
I mean, 1 billion years to get here. I'm sorry.
They have their own light sources. Like Atlas is emitting its own.
Yeah, it's got its own.
Light.
It's not like the cone when they get heated up from the sun. This is something else. They're not sure what it is, and it has kind of slightly changed course, but not. See, when I originally heard it, oh yeah, they said it was coming to Earth. It was going to be in November, December.
Yeah.
And then NASA came out and said, no, it didn't change the course that much. It's still on the elliptic course to go through past these 3 planets and then be pushed out, doubling its speed, being pushed out of the solar system, and never to be seen again, according to them. So we don't really know until it gets closer by, because they're not going to tell us if it's coming here. They're not going to tell us anyway until the damn thing's parked outside saying,
exactly,
knock, we're here. And even then they're going to say, oh no, that's an illusion. That's Blue Beans, Project Blue Beans.
I mean, if anything hits the Earth like that, it's the end of days for us. We could forget about it.
Yeah, for you and I it is. There'll be people who survive. It just won't be us.
No.
It's 6 miles. So that was another thing. Originally it was 20 miles, and it was 20 kilometers, which is a big difference. I mean, 20 kilometers is about 10 miles. And then all of a sudden it was 6 miles. So I'm like, pick a number and stay with it. And then it was spinning like this, and then it was spinning like this. I'm like, pick a spin, stay with it. I know y'all can see it, web can see it good enough now to know which way it's spinning. But they still don't understand. It's like it's lighting up from the center back.
Correct.
They're not sure what it is, or maybe there's something there that they don't know about, that the sun's heating up and it's like a magnesium compound or something. It's like Cirrus, the little planetoid inside the asteroid belt. So just recently, they've been knowing there's some kind of light there. It's got some kind of blue light on it. And they've seen it a dozen times. And so they even crashed a ship into it trying to find out what it was. Well, just recently, a new study suggests that whatever it is may have created extraterrestrial life. So I'm not even sure where that came from or why that was even put. So wait, you're going to tell us that there's a power supply inside our solar system that may be creating extraterrestrial life, but wait, you're going to deny the existence of extraterrestrial life. I mean, come to pick one.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know,
That's
you
what's
know.
so frustrating. We're just getting fed, constant streams of BS.
So
Huh.
and if you're not in the know, you just a friend of mine, he said, "Well, you know so much about it." I said, "Yeah, because it's one of the things I do, and I got a lot of people who work for me that do it too." I said, "But I said the average person don't know what I know, and they're never going to know what I know unless ET shows up." I said, "Some of the stuff we know, we're never going to be able to talk about because we make half of all the abduction criteria we have public, 50%, and the only reason we don't make it all is because we never know who was lying and who was telling the truth if we did.
Let me
It's
ask you a
bad enough
question.
now."
If ET showed up tomorrow and there was just craft all over the globe and they were like above your head, would you then come out and divulge everything that you knew at that point?
I wouldn't have the chance if they showed up mass like that. I'd probably be on board one of the ships. It's well, actually, so there's a theory about that. There's a group of contactees that have this thing called the Holocaust dream. 1/3 of all the contactees we have this dream, and they have it a lot, and it's very descriptive. And when these people are talking about it, they're talking about the same thing. So basically, it sounds like something out of a zombie movie, actually. So you hear this group of researchers is driving, and first group you ever heard, all had the same dream. They were going into Houston, Texas.
Okay.
Okay, weird. 2 carloads of people out looking for contactees. That's what they were doing. They were contactees themselves, but had been upgraded to go find contactees that had not made it off world yet. And so they pull into Houston, and they notice the street lights are working. There's cars parked on the side. The lights in the buildings are working. They get out there looking around. They're hungry. They're looking for something to eat. There's no people anywhere. All of a sudden, they walk up to the door, and a hologram thing pops out and starts talking to them about the last thing they purchased. So now we know we have AI technology now. So this is getting a lot closer. When these dreams first came out, we're talking 20, 25 years ago, 30 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So now what they're describing is real. And they've got to give in-depth descriptions of a lot of stuff that was going on in the world at the time, because they were living it. So they knew what was going on around them. And a lot of what they describe is going on right now. Doesn't mean it's going to happen now. It just means that it's at least on its way. So anyway, come to find out that there was some type of mega virus got loose, but somehow or another, the contactees were naturally immune to it. Figured out. So was it really an accident if they knew and made sure the contactees were immune to it? It's anyway, so they seem to be immune to it. But the government had realized this and had started snatching, because they follow a lot of contactees. They started snatching them, trying to, I guess, use their blood to make them immune to whatever this virus was.
So you don't think that this part of the dream was about the pandemic that we just lived through?
No, because
No,
it
nothing
kills
different.
it. So in less than 7 days, it kills. So they're figuring there were somewhere around 10 to 14 billion people on the planet.
Oh, geez.
The only ones that were really left were the contactees, which by that time would be somewhere around 2 billion. And whatever people were able to get the blood from contactees to stay alive. And there were
That's in
also
the
some,
movie.
I
That's in
know,
the
and there's also a bunch of hybrids running around, I guess, that didn't die from whatever this was, that kind of turned into zombies, for lack of
what was
better.
the name of that movie with oh my God, I just saw it a few years ago. Will
It sounds
Smith.
like,
It
oh
was the
yeah,
Will Smith movie.
it sounds a
That's
lot
the
like that.
scenario for the
Yes, and this is stuff long before all of that. So I mean,
yeah.
the thing of it is and when you regress them or when you hypnotize them, they're not lying. If you put them under a polygraph, they
Yeah, yeah.
100% believe it.
How did the
If
dreams
they,
end typically?
so
Well,
basically, and this is something else that's being reinforced by something else we've learned too. But so basically, what they were doing is they had been modified. They had been given bodies so they could go out and find these contactees, and they knew they were going to have a hard time because I guess they knew they were going to run against creatures and governments and stuff like that. So they really amped up their abilities, especially their telepathic, telekinesis abilities, so they could kill with thought. Um, but anyway, they had to do a lot of bad things, we'll say, to get all these contactees to these ships that needed to take them. Um, Obviously, the damn aliens must have been not immune to this stuff, because they didn't want to come down to the planet. They wanted these people to round them up, which makes me wonder what the hell. And but anyway, they round them all up, get them on ships, but they're not allowed to go because by this point they have done things that, frankly, they don't want whoever they're, whatever colony these people are going to are going to be probably PLL colonies, more like peace, love, and light, or peace, love, and laughter, or something. Just not like what we live here today. But they did say there would be a colony in Sydney and a colony in Seattle that would be formed because some of the aliens stayed behind too, and that way they could reestablish this planet into the Galactic Federation because all the Galactic Federation planets have multiple aliens living on them. It's I guess by this time in the great grand scheme of things, people live all over the damn place. So
Is there a Galactic Federation, Joe?
That's what they say. That's what
do you think there is?
In the beginning, I didn't. In the beginning, I thought it was leftover stuff from Valiant, Thor, and all that stuff back in the 40s and 50s. But we asked people to give us descriptions of stuff, and when they describe the council, they describe it on a water planet that has no land at all. It's a big planet, and there's one city that sounds like something out of I can't remember the name of the movie, but it just floats around on top of the planet. And
like Waterworld? Was it?
No. This is like a very sophisticated city that just floats around. I mean, so every member of the Congress, every member that's a member of the Galactic Council has a place there. They each have their own building, their own section of town. Every one of them do, and there's supposed to be a lot of them. But anyway, when they get to the council, they always describe it the same way. So it used to be 9, then it was 11, then it's 13, but now it's 15 people that sit on the council. Humans are not even allowed to sit anywhere. They have to stand off to the side because they're not actually a member. So anytime any of them are president, they're like a guest, but there's no seat for them. They have to just go stand on the side. And then if you've ever seen Star Wars, where Yoda's fighting with the Emperor in that room where everybody, it looks a lot like that. Whoever made that Star Wars thing had heard a contactee talk about this, because they talked about how each one had this place where they sat and the thing would come out and then they would speak and then it would go back in. Everyone was like that. And then at the very top, there was a bubble that dripped down into the stadium, and that's where all of the creatures, aquatic creatures, were at. So they had their voice there as well, and they didn't have to be in suits or anything. They could be in their natural environment. So they were showing all of that, and I can't tell you how many contactees drew it for me. Really? It's always the same thing. Always the same thing. So yeah, it probably exists, and they all say it's on a water world. And that's another thing. And until recently, we didn't even make any of that public. And when we do these sections, we didn't never do it with people know each other. So I.C.A.R has another thing they like to do when we're looking for information. We'll take 50 contactees and ask them a question to ask the aliens, and we get them just repeating in your head all the time. So whenever this event happens, first thing that comes out of your head is that question. Because especially the Greys, but even the reptilians, humans, a lot of times will answer without thinking about it, because they're a very telepathic race, and that's how they communicate. Sure. But sometimes there are consequences for asking certain questions.
From the Greys?
From any of the aliens. If you ask a question that they consider impertinent, there could be consequences. Anything from pain to lots of nasty little things they can do to you. And it's funny because you'll hear them say the same thing. Sometimes they'll act like, oh, look my little contactee did. All right, look, oh, he got in my head. And sometimes they act like proud parents, or proud pet owners might be a better way of saying it. But sometimes they get pissed, I guess, because we do have.
Because if you talk to Dolly and Preston and stuff, they never have anything negative to say. I don't know. Maybe it's the race of aliens that they come into contact with. But I never.
If you're not pushing them, they're not going to get pissed. I mean,
Yeah.
we're antagonizing because there's questions we want answered that I
Yeah.
guarantee you Dolly's not going to ask them because she doesn't want to go there with him. And
Yeah. So
so
what was the question? Could I ask?
well, there's lots of different questions. So one of them was the question: why do so many contactees talk about the color blue?
Oh, they
And
do. I didn't know. I wasn't aware of that.
yeah, so when the question was originally asked, and it was asked at the Grays, they got pissed about it and basically said it's none of your business, and gave everybody a mild, I guess we'll call it a headache. It's more like a shock, but gave all of them, all 50 contactees, got the same treatment. So
Wait, I
then,
found that so interesting. So they couldn't ask about a simple question about the color blue.
because they knew what it implied, they knew what the answer was, and they weren't at the time they weren't willing to share that information.
What does this is there a
So
correlation?
you do know grays aren't gray in color, right? They're not gray.
They're blue, right? They're
They're
like
they're
a
but they're this
bluish color.
weird. They're this weird blue that's never been seen on this planet other than on them. It's not in our color charts.
Right.
But there's a secret to this. So this used to be serious abduction criteria, by the way.
Hmm.
The grays on board the gray ships are alive, and they have the ability to create their own food, not just for them, but for the fuel for the ship. It's a blue plasma that the ship somehow manufactures, and the plasma itself is alive. The ship itself is alive. So the grays, because grays actually come in, what we will just use gray, white, and brown. Not exactly the
Okay.
color scheme, but so anytime they feed, they feed through osmosis. They absorb it through their skin. So all that blue goes into that blue plasma. It shimmers. It makes their skin change colors. So as the longer it takes them to feed, the duller the blue gets until it gets to a point where it's almost translucent, like a white gray.
Yeah.
So it kind of looks like that because they can go a long time without eating. They don't like to, but they can. But same
So
different with
what
the white ones and the brown ones. It just changes. So when the brown ones absorb the blue plasma, it gives them more of a like a purple hue to them. It's
mm,
so this is how you can really tell when someone's actually seen or met a real alien because they'll actually know what the color chart, the color scheme is. They'll also know about their eyes. Everybody always like, oh, the gray's got eyes this big. No, the gray's got eyes this big. It's they're bigger than ours, about twice the size of ours, but they're shaped like ours, and their pupils are different, but they're shaped like ours. But the big black thing is that the patch is it's actually several things. It's used to shield our high UVA from them because they're not used to the sunlight here on Earth.
that's what I thought.
But it
Like with
also
animals
allows them
have
to,
that
yeah.
lens.
But it also allows them to have access to stuff, and because grays don't have a click and switch technology. Reptilians
Mm.
and humans do, but the grays don't. The grays technology they merge with their ship when they fly it, so they become part of the ship. When they
Oh,
need a room, it the ship will make the room inside, and the whole walls, floor, and ceiling all light because whatever's in that skin lights. Then when they need equipment, they think about it, and a hole or orifice will open on the side of a wall, and you'll see a tube come out, and then all these different instruments will come out, and then like
so
the breath,
they're like one with the ship.
yeah,
They are the
yeah.
ship.
So
So
they are basically so like when they
yeah.
bring you in to put you in a stand, the thing will bubble up from the floor, and it'll bubble out across, and then they put you on it, and then it completely engulfs your body completely in ears, eyes, nose, any place there's a hole, there's something going in there, and but yet you can breathe. You don't have any problem breathing. There's no issues like that.
Sorry,
Uh,
there's a net in front of me.
yeah, he just wants because he wants to be famous.
He's
It's
driving me nuts.
It, but I mean, so it's weird when you get into this stuff because the Greys technology is much more advanced than the other two races. And when I got in this field, I was told that the Greys were subservient to the reptilians, humans, and Manus. Come to find
And
out,
they're
that's
not.
not even. No, they're not. Not only are they not, they're probably the second most powerful race in the damn freaking universe.
Wow. Could
It's
I ask what some of the other questions were that they didn't like, or did they ever answer any
oh
of
yeah,
these
they
questions?
answered lots of questions. Oh yeah, they answered lots of questions.
Oh, they did.
We asked one of them, we asked, which they weren't exactly happy with, but we asked how come they changed the way they did abduction. So in around 2004, I was talking with some of my directors, and I had realized that we weren't getting missing time cases anymore. There was a couple things they seemed to have changed the way they did, because they realized that we were basing cases on like missing time and other little
Mm-hmm.
things that they do. Well, they changed that, which shows right off the bat that not only their ability to be aware, but they were even aware of us, the researcher. So the government's not aware of the researcher, but the alien was. That made no sense to me whatsoever, but they were definitely aware. And we started getting these weird cases. So, perfect case for you. Couples in Gulf Breeze, Florida. They're staying at a hotel where we regularly stay ourselves. It's right there behind the Air Force Base. It's on the
Mm-hmm.
back bay. So here's the Gulf. Here's some sand, a park, and then here's the back bay, and then here's the hotel. And then there's a 7-Eleven, a bunch of little clubs and stuff and beaches. So anyway, they're standing there, they're looking at the back, they're UFO hunting because it's a hot spot. So they're out there UFO hunting. So they decide they're gonna go to the beach. So at 10 minutes to 11, they get into their car, they drive down to the beach. Well, they stop at the Circle K right around shift change. So
Mm-hmm.
both, because back then they were using two people per shift. This is Florida; they almost always do it anyway. So all 4 people remember seeing the people at 11 o'clock. They stopped in, got drinks and snacks and stuff. So then they drive out, park their car, they drive out to the beach, and they go out on the beach and they have this kind of wild, crazy experience. Then
Mm.
they get in their car and they go back in. So a couple of weeks go by, and his wife was doing something. I think she's cleaning out the car, and she reached and found a parking ticket inside the car. Now the car was locked, so somehow or another they got the parking ticket inside the car, and it slipped down between. It had a console. Well, this ticket was for the night that they were out there, and the ticket was for 10:05 p.m. Okay, how was that possible? They were at the hotel at 10:05 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, right. That's where they were. So how could they have got the ticket out there? Good question, huh? So what's going on? So we contact the police department. And I asked them if it was just a fufa, mistake, and they're like, no, that's the dispatcher. The guy calls a dispatcher. She said, and she looks it up. She said, no, that's what time it was. She said, we got a clock right here, and they marked the clock, and you can see in the other places where they marked the clock on the same incident that it was in the 10:03, 10:05, 10:12, and 10:14 before the cop left. Okay. How can it possibly be? Well, to make it even worse, the cop had it on his video camera in his car.
What?
And so there's the car. So, well, how can a car be in 2 places? Okay. So then you go back and you get the footage from the
The
hotel.
hotel. Yeah.
So at 11 o'clock, you see him leaving the car at 11, no problem at all. So we had to go back and go back and go back and go back until we got to 10 o'clock. And guess what? There was no car. But wait, there's cameras around the whole place. Car is not seen leaving anywhere. It was just gone.
What?
So then we're thinking, okay, so what actually happened? So what it sounded like is they just put them back too soon.
Oh.
And so when so ET, it's a boo boo on ET's part, but they
Yeah.
just put them back too soon, because now what ET does, and I'll give you an instance in a second. You don't have missing time anymore because they pull you out of time now. It's like a pocket universe. They just pull you on the side in a side dimension basically, and they can keep you for however long they want. Just to put this in perfect perspective, 3 weeks later, I'm in Pensacola, invited to dinner with this abductee couple. We go, my wife and I and them go out and have a dinner. Great dinner, had a good time. Took lots of pictures. We had hired one of them girls take pictures, and so we leave, and we were going to have dinner the next day and talk some more, and we're going to spend a couple of days with them. So I don't know. It's 6:30 in the morning. My phone is just ringing nonstop, and not both my phones, the hotel phone and my cell phone, are both ringing. And I'm like, and this is back in the days of flip phones, people, by the way.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, what the hell? So I pick up the phone, and this woman just screaming on the phone. I'm like, what the hell? What the hell? What's going on? She tells me, she said, you got to come to my house right now. She said, something weird happened. I can't tell you. I want you to come see. So she sends me over the address. I put it in the thing. We drive over there, and she comes walking out in shorts with 3.5 inch long hair in her legs. Now she was in a dress that night, actually in a skirt, clean shaven legs. He comes out with a beard and mustache like this.
No way.
Yeah. So before I let him cut any of them, I made him go see a specialist and ask him what kind of growth that was. And the doctor said between 3 and 5 weeks. So in that time between midnight and 6 a.m., they were gone 5. Well, we'll say 3 weeks and be nice about it. In that 5 hours we're talking about, because I had seen them right after midnight. So I had seen them at 12, almost 1 o'clock when the last time I had talked to them, and then 6 o'clock in the morning I'm talking to them again. 5.5 hours. Yeah.
So you saw them the day before, clean shaven.
That night at dinner, yeah.
That night at dinner, and then what did you do? What did you guys do?
I called some of our other directors in and found out who we knew that were doctors in the area, and if they had anybody that had like a specialty in hair growth and stuff like that, we found that they actually do, and had them go see him. And the guy was like, "What do you mean?" So he shows the doctor the picture from the night before. And the picture's actually got a timestamp on it from when the person took it. It's got location and timestamp on it. And he said, "No, this got to be a hoax." He said, "No, it's not." He said, "That's why he made me come see you." He said, "Because you don't understand how this could happen in 5.5 hours." And the guy just looked at him and he said, "It can't happen in 5.5 hours." He said, "And I can tell you by looking at it, it wasn't like some fast growth. It was just normal growth." He said, and the doctor said it was probably between 3 to 5 weeks. He said he was leaning more towards 5 weeks. I mean, his beard was like, phew. I was like, son of a bitch. It was a great case, and we've had other cases like that, just weird ones.
You get them hypnotized to see? Sometimes,
yeah. It depends on what kind of information they retain, and two of my all-time favorite cases. One of them is the 2 old ladies that had stage 4 cancer that all of a sudden, out of the blue, next morning, not only didn't have cancer, but all the damage from the chemo and all the damage from the cancer was gone.
That's crazy.
100% complete turnaround. Even the doctors, we got it in writing from the doctors that they say it was a miracle because it couldn't have been anything else. But they're great. And as a matter of fact, they're still alive today. I call them the crazy old bitches. And but one of my other favorite cases this is a great case. So, couple in Los Angeles went out to dinner. Couple in New York went out to dinner. They all go home to do their thing. Now, there's a time difference of 3 hours. And the guy in New York wakes up to his phone just ringing off the hook. And, it's almost daylight there. So he gets up. I guess he's trying to reach over and get his baby. He's touching his girlfriend's butt or whatever. Reaching for the phone. He finally gets the phone. He's talking to him. And he's like, "Honey, what are you talking about? You're laying right next to me." Oh, no, she was not. She was in Los Angeles in this guy's bed. And so he pushed his wife to wake her up, and it's not his wife. She freaks out. He freaks out. Everybody's freaking out.
Who the heck was it?
It was the guy's wife in Los Angeles was in bed with the guy in New York. And the guy's wife in New York was in bed with the guy in Los Angeles.
How the heck did that happen?
ET effed up.
Oh, they swapped the wrong people.
Put them back in the wrong places.
Wow.
And I was like, what? Because there is a time difference. And I was looking at it going, but I met all 4 of them. I got the original reports because both women called the police thinking they had been kidnapped. And the cops, because the girls were freaking out, brought the guys to jail. And then, of course, the guy said, no, his wife's here, his wife's here. And then the cops were really confused. They were like, well, what was this, some kind of swap off or something?
Yeah.
He's like, no, we're in New York. She's in Los Angeles. And they couldn't even figure it out because there wasn't even enough time from the time the people in LA went to bed till this happened in New York to fly to New York. It takes about 4.5 hours to get there, 5 hours. It was only 3 hours that passed. So they were just like, the cops didn't know what to do with it because they had And everybody decided not to press charges because no one knew what happened.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Why
when
do
I
you
finally,
think ET chooses some to abduct and others not?
they only abduct in family lines from whatever the
Is that
original family, yeah, whatever the original family lines were way back in the day. That's who they abduct from. That's why you can kind of get a count. You know, most ufologists will tell you, or most abduction people will tell you, 10 to 15% of the world's population has been taken. Now, they're not being taken all the time, or not even all at once, but they are being taken. So Alfred Weber caused me a lot of pain over this. We were on air one night, and he decides he's going to do the math. He said, "Well, Joe, 15% of the current world's population, that's like 1.5 billion people being abducted." I said, "Well, they're not all being taken at once, and some of them aren't being taken anymore." I said, "But yes, a lot of them people are actively being taken." Oh my God, I had all kind of people writing reports on me. I got into it with the science community in Australia. They wrote a whole thesis on me. I ain't kidding you. And then I said, "So y'all want to fight about this?" So I went back and walked them through step by step on a data we had, and they actually wrote a retraction.
Oh, no kidding.
They said, "Well, Mr. Montaldo has showed some interesting stuff here. We're not sure how to identify." It's like the blood type study when I finally made it public. All kind of people tried to get all kind of nasty, but when I walked them through it, they were like, because that's what I.C.A.R does. We're the group that goes out and finds out why ET's here. We're not trying to get famous off it. We're not trying to make money off it. We're just trying to find out what they're here for. And the blood type study came around because we were looking for ways to find people who have been taken that don't know they've been taken. Because frankly, 98% of everybody who's been taken will never know.
I was going to ask you that. How would you know? Like,
You don't.
what
You'll
are
think it's a
other than
dream most of the time.
other than missing time? How would you know if
And
you were
that
taken?
they don't have missing time anymore. So they got game time or even time. So they also did something new too that we didn't find out. They loop your memories now. So in the old days, they gave you cover memories, which sometimes would, you could break through a cover memory. Oh no, they got much smarter now. So now they got loop. Let me tell you how we found out about the loop memory. This is the first case that we broke for. So pregnant woman, regular was a contactee, was talking about how she'd been taken, and they took her on board with her kid and shit. And she'd been being taken fairly a lot. And then every morning on the way to work, she'd stop at this chili dog place and get this nasty, crazy chili dog while she was pregnant. She'd eat two of them. I mean, these are monster shit and onions and cheese. And just like, girl, you're going to kill yourself with a baby. Anyway, long story short, she's driving to work one day. She gets to work and she said, "Man, them chili dogs is really good this morning." Well, guess what? There was no more chili dog stand. It closed about 7 months after she had the baby.
Oh my.
The guy said he blamed it on her for not coming in anymore. And but it wasn't there. But she clearly had a memory of stopping there that morning and getting two hot dogs.
So they're implanting memories.
And then I didn't implant them. So what they did was they took a memory she had in her head, a memory she used all the time, and they took that memory and looped it. Normally that would have worked because if she was still getting chili dogs, she wouldn't have thought about it.
Right.
It was only the fact that because the stand was closed that she got busted. So they use mundane memories like vacuuming your floor, walking around your house, taking a walk down the beach, doing whatever, something that you do all the time that you're not going to question.
Are they still doing this?
Oh yeah, they don't do any of the other stuff anymore. It's rare to find anybody with missing time. It's really rare, and we're very suspect now when someone tells us about missing time, or if they tell us about these wild, crazy cover memories. The instant we think is government, because ET doesn't do that anymore. ET use looped memories; they're just much better. And if the government could figure out how to do it, they would use looped memories.
Yeah. So how are you now finding contactees? If they're hip to all these things, there's no missing time, they're doing loop memories. How are you discovering new contactees?
Well, that's one of the reasons the blood type study came in. So 69% of everybody who's being taken is Rh negative. Almost 70% of everybody who's been taken is Rh negative. Now, remember, Rh negative has only been around for 40,000 years, and it's already 15% of the planet, actually 18% of the planet, and it's a baby killer. So somehow something that kills babies is still managing to grow at a pretty good rate. And Rh negative people are different. They don't have the same
my mother-in-law was
personality.
Rh negative, and she had to have like a shot. They give them a shot before.
Yeah, anidinogen D gene, I think is what it's
Yep.
called. It was
Yeah.
discovered in an Australian guy, no less, not even in a girl. It was discovered in a guy. And so now they can give you the shot and the baby won't be born still. But before that, so in the old days, you used to have to get a blood test to get married. And that was to make sure you were
Right.
compatible. Because if you weren't compatible, you couldn't have the baby. Now you can get a shot, but still being compatible is how it is.
I had to get blood work before, when I was
Well,
19.
yeah, we did too when my
Yeah.
wife and I first got married. Now today you don't have to because they have the
No.
shot. So if it turns out that that's what you are when you go in and your baby, they'll go ahead and give you the shot, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. It
So
helps you.
AT is only taking, contacting people that are RH negative. That
No, it's about 70%. We'll say 69%.
70%.
Yeah, it's right now the current number is holding at 69%. So, and out of that 69%, at least half of those are O negative. So it's a
Wow.
weird, it's weird, but I don't think that's how it always was. So originally, whenever they started this originally, how many ever thousands or tens of thousands of years ago this was, there was no RH negative on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm figuring this was a booster since RH negative is a mutation, just like green or blue eyes is. Somewhere along the line, ET said, okay, their evolution isn't moving fast enough. And RH negative was created. And as far as we know, the grays, the reptilians, and the humans may be each one of our blood types. We just don't know because we can't get access to them. And the grays may have been the ones that introduced, since they were the last ones on the scene. And that's another thing. You can tell when the grays came in much later than the other two aliens. Much, much later, actually.
Who's doing most of the abducting? What
the
race?
Grays. Now the grays are so in the beginning, it was the reptilians and human. It was about 50-50. Somewhere just before Christ was born, somebody decided the grays needed to be here. I don't know if the reptilians and humans were getting into it or on the verge of getting into it, but they were sent to keep the peace. And once they took over the majority of abductions. But think of this. Before Christ, reptilians were revered on our planet, loved all over. After Christ, they're not. They're considered evil and bad.
Thought about that.
Yeah, so you got to kind of wonder about that. And you can even see that in the Mesoamerican world, and which Christ had nothing to do with, but still it happened at the same time. It was like a wave that went around our planet.
What do you think is accounting for that?
Probably grays don't like them freaking reptilians. It's they might think the grays are tasty or something. I don't know. It's very weird because the Sumerians talk about the aliens that created the first race of humans, which wasn't us, but it was the race right before us. And they talk about the Dogon, and the Sumerian talk about the Nemos, who came out of the water, came down the mountain, raped the women, and the children that were born different. And originally I heard that story. I thought they meant they looked different because they were part reptilian, part human, but that's not what it was. They acted differently. Well, most humans like to fight and argue with me about this, but we all have a reptilian section in our brain. So it kind of gives credence to what they said. So the Sumerian said the reptilians came down, those children were born and acted differently. They no longer just wanted to plow the fields. Procreation wasn't just enough anymore. They were self-aware. Whereas the first sentients, the first species might have been sentient, but they weren't really self-aware. But our species was. Now think about this. So at that time, the reptilians had already interbred with what the humans had created. So now you have a human reptilian hybrid, basically. That was our descendants. Somewhere along the line, the grays got involved. So now you've got human, gray reptilian hybrids. And it's weird because let's say that your daddy is a gray abductee and your mom is a human. Well, you're both. And then, of course, you may marry somebody, might be a reptilian contactee, and then have children. And then there's the three, and then they may be switching amongst each other. So at this point, it's really hard to know what exactly it is they're trying to create. All it really seems to be is they're just trying to get our telepathic abilities to grow faster. I'm thinking they're feeling that as telepaths, we'll have to start behaving more. Because if you always know what somebody's thinking, it's going to be really hard to lie.
Yeah, it's like the Minority Report, with precog crime abilities. You can tell when somebody's going to act off. Why do you think they're still abducting, though? If they have, all these millennia of abducting or like, what's the point now?
Well, there's
Of
lots of reasons they take you. One is a lot of humans. So humans get downloads, which, by the way, thank you, I.C.A.R coined that term 30 years ago. Um, so
what
humans get
term?
downloads. So
Oh,
human abductees get downloads on a fairly regular basis. Some of the
mm,
stuff is immediately accessible. Some of it's not. Some of it you might not even access for a decade or more. It's just whenever it's needed. But there's a lot of information in there because they expect us to know a lot. You will hear about them learning about the ships, learning about how the ships operate, learning about how they fly, but it's more than that. So on the motherships, these ships are huge. They're probably bigger than the size of our moon. They had spotted three of them parked out by the sun, and NASA tried to say they
thought
were
I saw that.
NASA tried to say they were lens
Saw
flare,
that.
but then they showed up on another camera. They were like,
Yeah.
"Oh wait, shit." Well, I guess they're not lens flare, but they tried to say it. But a lot of people just thought it was. They were like making some kind of little portal so the ships could go. The big ships can go and come back because they're
Mm.
too big. They're too big to even get close to our planet without causing damage to our planet. So they say they keep them parked out either by the sun or near Jupiter or Saturn, somewhere out there.
Oh, I never
Away,
thought about that. So you think that those motherships are so big they could like screw with our
oh yeah,
magnetic?
oh yeah, easily. They're bigger than the moon, and you see what the moon does to our planet.
Yeah.
And then
Wow,
we
I
don't
never
know what types
thought
of
like
drives they're
that.
using. Yeah. See, that's why when people used to tell me about Narebru, oh, it's 5 times the size of Earth. Well, they ain't nothing 5 times the size of Earth getting nowhere around us without destroying us.
Exactly. Yeah.
It will rip us into pieces, man. It was
Heidi's
just
asking the frequencies.
on what? They use
Oh,
frequencies for a lot of things, but wait, you got to be specific, youngin.
do you mean for the ships, Heidi? The frequencies of the she'll clarify. I never thought about that, but that's so true.
Yeah, so we always try to add science into everything we do. It's
Yeah.
hard sometimes, but when you do it that way, it's more acceptable and more presentable to the public. They'll go, well, that makes sense there.
Yeah, she's asking the motherships, is it a frequency in the ship?
Well, frequencies could too, but more than likely it would be just sheer gravity.
Just the
Uh,
mass of it.
yeah, so the moon creates our tides on a plane. Could you see something twice the size of the moon pulling up next to us? We would have
Oh, dear
tidal waves
Lord.
all over the place, earthquakes, and something the size of the Narebru 5 times. No, it would
Get it.
shatter our planet.
Yeah.
And there would be frequencies involved in that as well. So you'd have gravity waves, frequency waves, and God knows what other kind of waves going through there. And that's what they think happened. So a lot of people think, including myself, if there was a Narebru, that's what's between Mars and Jupiter right now.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere along the line, it either was intentionally destroyed or was destroyed by Jupiter's gravity because no one knows. But in the early days, they always said the same thing. Oh, it's left over from the solar system. It was never a planet. And then they found some materials that can only be made inside of a planet. So because of the pressure that it's needed to create these things, these certain types of crystals. So they knew at one time now it was a planet.
Mm.
So can you imagine if you're an alien that came from that planet? You would be, well, 5 times stronger than humans. You could lift up a car with one hand.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
like when we go to Mars. Here you go. Something for you people over 50. I'm going to give y'all a secret. As soon as you can go to Mars, go for a couple of reasons. One, it will probably add 40 years to your life. On
Wow.
top of that, you will, if you've got arthritis, you won't have pain anymore. If you got
That's a
heart
plus.
issues, yeah, if you got heart issues, you won't anymore. You want to know why? Because your heart will not work near as hard on Mars as it does
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
It's 1/3 of the gravity, people. Also means your organs will get a break. Uh, your bones will get a break. You won't have to walk upstairs anymore. You can just push up and float up to the level and a half up there.
Joe, isn't the problem like when they do get to Mars, they'll have these houses that will, these stations with gravity that we're used to inside of them where humans will be living. So wouldn't we still get the effects of gravity?
If that's how they do it, way they're talking about doing it is because being able to have that extra weightlessness helps in a lot of ways. It means
Mm,
one guy could do this the work of a crane. So
wow.
there's lots of stuff that you could be doing, and your endurance would be much longer when you're out working, because you'd
Yeah.
still could walk on the planet. You just wouldn't have all that force pulling down on you.
Going down
But
on you, right?
if you want to have normal children, you will have to have somewhere where a mother can be there at least 16 or 18 hours every day in a 1G environment, or that baby will be born deformed.
Oh,
Well, a lot of people think the Greys were from Mars because Mars is, first off, it's a low light planet, which obviously the Greys come from a low
yeah.
light planet.
Right.
And the Greys seem to be cartilage and not bone, which means they have a different type of way they move in because their gravity is different than ours.
Yeah.
But the
That
little
kind of
shits are
makes
way
sense.
stronger than us. That's another weird thing. Little 3 foot Grey could grab my 240-pound ass and drag me around like I was a cat.
How is that
Um,
possible?
it's a good question, but they're way stronger than we are. But you're not as strong as the reptilians or humans.
Yeah.
And that's another way we found out the Greys were in charge, because contactees will tell you when there's a Grey present, especially if he's like a 5 foot or bigger Grey, the reptilians will bow their heads, so will the humans, in respect. So obviously their mind powers are far greater than the other two's are, which makes sense. I mean, a human's head's about this long, but it's only about that wide.
Mhm.
Reptilian's head is bigger, but the Gray's head is bigger than both of their heads put together, and it's a different
Yeah.
design.
Yeah.
It's so
Let me ask you a question. For some reason, I feel a lot in the community, in the UFO community, that's like an honor to be abducted. Do you look at it as a good thing, or like, would you not want to be abducted? Like,
well,
which would you go?
so it's a strange thing. So abductees are just dealing with the fear. Contactees have realized that they're being taken, and have come to terms with it. Keepers are different. Keepers know they're being taken, but they're also helping. They'll
Mm,
work with the children sometimes. They'll work with contactees or abductees sometimes to help calm them down. There'll be a bridge between the alien and the human sometimes.
that's like
Uh,
Dolly, right? She's one of
yeah,
those.
she's
Yeah.
somewhere up in that group,
Yeah.
because there's a couple of different layers that are in there. But because they look, if you're a contactee, they want you to know. As far as ET is concerned, they have told everybody who they think needs to know, and that's the abductees. They don't
Mm,
care if the rest of us know. As far as they're concerned, the rest of y'all are cannon fodder.
yeah.
They know you're not going to make it. So if you knew, I mean, and you would think if you knew 10 billion people were going to die, you would do something about it, or 12 billion people. But I guess
Yeah.
not. I guess since they don't interfere in anything else, because they don't stop any nuclear bombs. And people always tell me, oh, we can't get a nuclear war. The Grays will stop it. Really? You think that? You better go look at 3 Mile Island or Fukushima or Chernobyl, because they sure the hell didn't stop that.
Right. That's
And we
true. That's
still, I mean,
that's
right
the
now you can't. Yeah, well, I was going to say right now you can't even buy shrimp in the United States, because if it comes out of the
no.
Pacific, it's got cesium in it. Thank you, Fukushima. Um, so I mean,
Yeah. I mean, who wants to eat shrimp anymore? Nobody.
I know I don't want no glow in the dark shrimp. And down here where I'm at, we don't have the cesium in the water, but we got flesh eating bacteria. So I'm like, well, what the hell, man? Y'all making me not want to eat seafood. It's
That's sad. Oh, I
yeah,
didn't know you guys have that. You have flesh-eating bacteria in the waters there?
yeah. So it's naturally there all the time, but usually it's not at the extent it is right now. So it's not usually a problem. But right now it's bad. And just a guy the other day had just a nick on his leg, a little cut, got in the water, lost his damn leg. And
Oh,
it's already
yeah.
killed. It's killed 3 or 4 people,
I believe it.
hospitalized another 50. It's and then some dumb people went and ate raw oysters and put them in a hospital, because if you're going to eat
Oh,
seafood in the South right now, the Gulf people, make sure it's cooked to 160 degrees.
yeah.
And it's OSHA
Mm,
certified,
right.
100 kills all
When I
bacteria.
was a kid, my dad used to eat raw clams and like it was nothing, never a
That's how it is
problem.
down here.
Yeah.
People, it's but
I
every now and then
would
they kill you.
never
But
eat
I
it.
like grilled oysters, so I ain't got to worry about it. I like them grilled up, butter and
Yeah.
garlic and parmesan. Oh my
Oh,
god,
yeah.
they're fabulous. It's
Nothing raw. Gross.
you know, a steak tartare.
Anyway, Joe, we have a few minutes left, but um, I wanted to just ask you about disclosure again and kind of close on that if you can
Well,
What do you think is next for the transparency? What do you think is next? You think they're going to ever tell us the truth?
well, they don't know the truth. You can't tell the truth if you don't know the truth. So that's what I'm telling you. So,
Right.
after testifying with them and watching all the rest of these testifies, they don't know. Their Congress is just trying to find it out. So you may have a couple of congressmen sitting on some select committees that work with some of these high-end companies that have some idea, but even they don't know a lot. They keep this so compartmentalized to start off with, and even amongst the companies, they keep it compartmentalized to keep one from theft, for intellectual theft, and two, keep from leaking to foreign agencies. It's and three, not to let us get our fingers on it. But the problem is Uncle Sam knows that the ET doesn't care if we know. So this is more about them not wanting us to know. But like I was talking about the desensitive program at the beginning, that's where we are. There's phases of this. So now we found life. We're going to find some more life on Mars. It's actually a live life. They found a big ocean underwater in Mars now. So they're thinking there's probably some life down there. So they're going to find some life down there. And then we're going to prove that there's extraterrestrial life.
Oh, so it's done in phases, like you said.
Well, because right now, people in the world can start. So remember the Mars rock way back 20 years ago had the little microbes in it. Oh yeah. So but this
was a
proves
big
there was
deal.
life. Yeah, they argued back and forth, but that was the first really got your eyes open. Oh, there might be life on Mars. Now here's another rock. This looks pretty much like life. Then the next phase will be to actually find something alive. Maybe a couple of things, and then they're going to find some type. Maybe it'll be an impacted spaceship on Mars. Maybe it'll be a temple or something, because it looks like there's several things on Mars that could have been. I mean, when you fly over them and when you watch the satellites fly over, and you think about all the satellite work they're doing in South America and watch them fly over, it looks a lot like that, like ruins. So
I've seen some of those images too.
They're so there's no doubt that there's some ruins on Mars. So they'll get to that and they'll show us, and we'll say, "Wow, look!" But there'll be ruins. There won't be any intelligent life there. So now we'll know there is still life there, but not intelligent life. But there was intelligent life. So we have to wonder where it went. But now the world can start thinking, okay, we do know there is such thing as extraterrestrials. So the world can start absorbing it a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. And then they'll probably find a world somewhere, which they think they've already found, by the way, that there's life on the world. So James Webb had found 3 planets recently that suggest one of them, when it beamed its stuff through the atmosphere, had hydrocarbons in it. Hydrocarbons are made by combustion engines.
Yeah.
And other plant stuff. So, other types of plants. So that suggests that, at this point, they're around the same technological level we are. But remember, it's 100 light years away.
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit different. But still, they found 3 planets now where they think there's life, and probably intelligent life. What level it's on, it's hard to say, but definitely intelligent life. So they'll start pushing that narrative. Once they find an artifact, they'll start pushing that narrative more and more. And then finally, there'll be some distant contact. Nothing that we're going to see right away. Maybe a signal from 50 light years away or something. Something that we can, over a 200-year span, we can talk to. And then after that, there'll be actual real contact. But they're going to take it slow enough. I mean, they'll speed it up if the population speeds up. But right now,
you think that'll be in the next decade, or is it going to be further out? Like, what's the time frame?
So if with religion, it could be several hundred years.
Oh,
it could even be more than that. So they proved that the Catholic Church, the Spanish Inquisition set us back 500 years in science.
Jeez, that's
of course, the burning of the Library of Alexandria, they said, set us back 1,000 years.
Oh,
so we could be 1,500 years more advanced than we are today.
That's so sad. It's so pathetic.
So, it's hard to say with religion. The Christian religion is transforming, especially now we got a baseball pope. I'm like, wow, look at this.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah. And the Vatican's full of alien stuff.
Yeah.
So here's a great one for you. This is a great one. So Stephen Vasset's like the 3rd X conference I go to speak at. I think it was number 9. And anyway, or 2009, that's what it was. I always call it number 9, but it's 2009. So anyway, I'm out there. Piola Harris is there, and Father Monsignor is there, Balducci. Father Balducci. Monsignor Balducci, sorry, was there. So I asked Paul if she would translate because his Italian, I mean, his English is about as good as my Italian. So we're talking, and we got a pretty good conversation going. Poor Piola's working her ass off because, we're going back and forth. We're both kind of excited. So all of a sudden, right smack in the middle of the thing, I said, well, what does the Vatican actually think about it? He said, well, he called me Giuseppe. He said, Giuseppe, they think they're on a higher spiritual level than we are, and they're closer to God. Whoa, wait a minute. Did you just tell me the Vatican and the Pope said ET's on a higher spiritual level than we are and are closer to God? I didn't
Yeah,
even know what to think about that. So I asked Piola like 4 times. Is that what she said? Yeah, Joe, that's what he said.
that's
And,
crazy.
and then a couple more times he reiterated it, and we talked about some other stuff, and he basically was saying, no, they know. So then a couple of weeks after that, I had an interview coming up with the astronomer for the Vatican, and we got to talking. I told him, he said, oh yeah, the whole Vatican feels that way. He said, how can you be a billion-year alien and not be closer to God than we are? Well, I mean, that's a pretty damn good point. I
No.
mean, if they believe in God and they've been around for a billion years, you know what?
Yeah.
And they have unlimited lifespans. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a funny thing about the aliens. We always talk about immortal. They're not immortal. They're no more immortal than we are.
Yeah.
So they can die, even though their lifespans are much longer than ours. They said the grays are well over 1,000,000 years, and the reptilians and humans are probably at least 500,000 years. But
Yeah, probably.
all three races can upload their consciousness into a new body. So the grays, you don't ever know how old a gray is when you see it,
Yeah.
because they talk
I
about
believe
being.
that. I believe that. I mean, I think we're on our way to maybe doing that too.
Yeah,
We're
just 100
trying to
million
do
years or
that.
so.
But we have like a minute or two left because Michelle's going to have a fit if I don't say goodbye to you.
Tell Michelle I'm the boss. I give her shit about this all the way by the time. She said jokes. So now we always run over into her show. It's so
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
she said,
I love Michelle with all my heart, and
because she's the
I'm
queen,
always going to
man.
be on her good side.
She's the queen. Somebody the other
She
day. Well,
is.
people, what's so funny? This is so funny. People will write to me. I'm gonna get you fired. I'm writing to your boss, Michelle. I'm like, please do. I said, here, let me get your email. You're gonna give me her. I said, yeah, breeze that. I said, tell her Joe is being a blank, 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 blank. Because I can curse pretty good on Saturday nights. And I'm like,
Yeah,
just tell her.
yeah.
And she's like, and one lady's like, oh yeah, you gone. Yeah, we'll never see you again. And then and I'll be talking about it on air while I'm doing. You'll hear Jay start laughing, or
Yeah,
Leah
no,
somebody start
Michelle is our
laughing.
goddess. I mean,
They'll be
geez.
like, well, and Jay goes, well, to this lady, Janine, you can't fire her. She most certainly can. He said, no, I don't think she can. He's like, yeah, she can't fire anybody. I've heard the owner say that. He said, obviously, you don't know who the owner is because he's sitting staring at you in the face right now. She
All
goes, you
right,
don't
Joe.
own it. I said, yes, I most certainly do own it. You
Can I
really
ask
do.
you, would you please come back? I know
Oh,
you're,
anytime, anytime.
oh, I
No,
love
I
talking
always
to
tell
you.
all the network hosts, and anytime I always make time for the network host. And I tell people when they get stuck, sometimes I always check with Michelle and I because sometimes we got free time. It's a rare
Thank you
thing, but
so
we'll
much.
make free time. So no, I had a great time. Heidi,
Oh, me too. I love talking to you. 2 hours goes by in like 10
oh
minutes.
yeah,
It's
and we didn't
crazy.
even really get into much today,
No,
but
I
I'm
still
keeping
have
my
a lot.
I'm
Yeah,
watching Heidi,
maybe
man.
you could do my Friday show. Like
Yes, we could talk.
I'll
Yeah, we
do
get
it.
on there.
I'll do
Just
it through
tell,
Michelle.
yeah, tell the queen, and she because she
I'll
likes that
tell her.
much.
The
She likes
goddess
to
will
be
know.
hands. Yeah, she likes being hands on. I was torturing her last night until midnight.
Oh, are you?
Yes. Well, our meetings, which is weird, we have meetings on Wednesdays and Thursday nights because she's
Yeah.
on before me. So I always stay up to hanging, and I always give her numbers on Thursday nights and Wednesdays and Thursdays she gets the numbers by voice. The rest of the time she gets them. And I bet you we did good today too because I was
She is the
advertising.
goddess.
Yeah, she is. I was advertising as big last night. So now I had
Oh,
four,
wonderful.
yeah, the
Thank
UFO
you.
Undercover had 4.4 million listeners last night. So
Oh, wow. Well, I love being a part of this network. Thank you,
it's a lot
Joe.
of fun. It's a lot of fun.
It is a
And
lot of fun.
yeah,
And
that's
God bless. I'll be in touch soon. All right.
all right. No problem, sweetie.
Bye. And thank you, Heidi. We adore you. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to end the
We
show
love
right now
Heidi.
because Michelle's going to have a major meltdown. I don't want to cut into anybody else's show. But thank you again, Joe. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye,
Thanks,
guys.
guys. Okay, there we go.